Hello everybody, Edre here. Today I'm going to be doing a new review. This time I'm going to be reviewing the new Future Islands album, As Long As You Are. Future Islands is a alternative rock and synth pop band that has been around since I believe like 2006, late 2000s at least. 2008 was when they put out their first album. And for the most part, I think they've had a pretty solid sound. I have never really dived too deep into their discography until as of late. But I will say, from what I have heard, from what I know of them, they have a pretty solid and distinct sound. And I think the vocalist really does make this band stand out against many other contemporaries in the synth pop and alternative world. You know, I've always felt that a lot of the singers of these type of bands really try to imitate the 80s sound, which is not an issue, but a band like Future Islands is a bit more unique in terms of vocals. So going into this album, I had some relatively somewhere in the middle type of expectations. I didn't expect this to be bad, but I also was not sure how great it would actually turn out to be. Needless to say, the band continues to go down their typical synth pop alternative rock sound. There isn't too much different. There's not too much that's really being changed up on this album versus past albums. And that is both a good thing and a bad thing I will get to later in this review. But a few things stuck out to me overall as an album. It kind of, some of those tracks on it did remind me a little bit of The Killers. Both their older material and their newer material. The more upbeat, dance-oriented tracks on this album do give me some Killers vibes. However, I actually think I might enjoy it better than some of the material the Killers have put out more recently. And the reason that is, the vocals are a bit more unique. They are a bit different. And it's very well executed, and it's a very unique take on this genre. Needless to say, I am going to go into specific tracks, though, to really analyze this album to its fullest. The opening track, Glada, has right off the bat, a very good, dreamy production and good overall atmospheric sound. With one of the first thing that stuck out to me was the overall good drumming that this song has. I love seeing that. I love it when bands such as this that are more electronic, a bit more synth-oriented, do kind of have talented drumming in there. Because a lot of times the drumming is an afterthought in terms of all that. But I do appreciate that when there's a good band that definitely has a good drummer. And that really shines on the track Glada. The song For Sure is an interesting one. The first thing that stuck to mind when I heard that track was very much stadium anthem type stuff. Not anthem like We're Not Gonna Take It or anything. But it has a very big sounding production. A very grand, we're gonna play this live sounding production. Which is ironic because there ain't no such thing as live shows right now. And I think a big thing for me on that track is it gives me a lot of summer vibes. Definitely feels like a music that could be played on a nice summer day, which honestly today, even though it's October, in my area, it's kind of like that today, so it's nice to hear. I Knew You is probably one of my favorites on here. It's a bit slower, a bit more atmospheric as well, but it has a very good emotionalness to it, it radiates great emotion, and they do that quite a bit on this album. And I Knew You, to me, is probably the perfect example of that. You know, not all of these are more synth-based tracks. You have songs like City Faces. You have songs such as Moonlight, which are much more driven by guitar and bass than they are keyboards. And I like the tone a lot here. I really need to bring that up. On both Moonlight, on both Plastic Beach, and on City Face, you get some great tone in both the guitar and bass here, which sort of remind me of the tone that The Cure had on their second album, 17 Seconds, as well as sort of the tones that you sometimes hear from Echo and the Bunnymen and a lot of other 80s bands from that era. But it doesn't just sound like those bands. It sounds like Future Islands. And it has a really good guitar tone that really does make these songs shine a bit more. And got to give them credit there. But there might be some guitar tracks, but you do get some fun ones here. Fun, synthy, poppy fun, more upbeat songs like that, such as Waking, which is really great, just synth pop, great fun as well. The Painter as well has some good synth and bass guitar in there as well. you know, at the end of the day, I feel like each of these songs provide something more to this album and have a really good atmosphere, execution, and arrangement that I was left very satisfied with that. You know, overall, this whole album is very well executed and a very unique take on the genre they are going for. And it's really refreshing to hear that because as much as I enjoy this genre, a lot of the newer bands out there that seem to be doing this sound still, and by newer, I mean like the past 10 years, a lot of them seem to be rehashing old ideas. And, well, this isn't that different from their previous albums. Their sound as a band is unique. They have their own little, you know, section carved out, and they fit in there perfectly, and this album just is another addition to their sound. It doesn't expand upon their sound that much. It's not groundbreaking or anything like that, so unfortunately, that does drag this album down a slight bit, but for what it's worth, they got their sound once again well executed and well crafted, and I can't complain. It has a very good modern feel. While some of the tracks give me more Cure and Joy Division vibes, others give me more Killers and more synth pop vibes as well. And it's a bit of melancholy and a good very melancholic feel of this album, which I also quite enjoy. You know, yeah, at the end of the day, really solid project. And, you know, it may not be their most unique thing ever put out, because it does sound like their other works, but their sound as a whole is unique in its own right. And this album continues to just be another pretty solid album, in my opinion, in their discography. So, yeah, Future Islands, As Long As You Are, pretty good album. I was left satisfied, and I have settled on giving this album a solid 8 out of 10. Now, anybody that doesn't know my reviews needs to know that anything above a 5 is really good. Anything below a 5 is not so good. So an 8 out of 10 is a very positive review. Very positive review. I was left very satisfied with this Future Islands album. That is it for now. 8 out of 10, and goodbye.